Guys amongst the community, when you talk to each other, sense that there's a strategy to move different Ilhan Omars in different cities to go into political, become congressmen, to have more control in cities so they can gradually spread this ideology amongst different cities and states?
It's not at the congressional level. It's definitely at the local level. Look at that guy who's running from, the local mayoral races, school board races, municipal races, city council races, and where they are turning those city councils like neon blue. They're trying to get illegals to vote in their elections. Look at the guy who's running for mayor in New York. I can't say his name, but that socialist guy or whatever. Yeah. That AOC is supporting, but they do it differently. We're always top down as Republicans thinking about the biggest office and then on down, but we have forgotten bottom up, which is where they have succeeded, and they've put these commies, these socialists, these people that are crazy and un-American at the lower level of offices that have more control over the people, because the government closest to the people is the one with the most control, which is the scariest part.
There you go, William Colton. You got your wish. We become a third world dump. 99-cent store right next door. Beautiful. Good job.
Illuminati is a thing you need to watch out for. They want to depopulate and slave us so much more. World domination, I'll get into that later. I'm hardcore, fierce and sexy. You're just a hater. You deserve the ridicule because you're an absolute zero. I'm the keeper of the chalice, a rock and roll hero. I'm not an idiot nobody listens to, because I'm not a failure in life like you. Let's talk about Bill Gates and the mark of the beast and the orgies in the streets at the Catholic feasts and Bill and Hillary's human trafficking ring. And George Soros got the money to pay for everything. Socialism is for losers, working for the devil, chumps that can't fight, they ain't on my level. It takes an evil one to try to debunk a doubter, so I'd rather die than stop talking about it. Watch out, watch out, watch out, watch out. Watch out for the Illuminati. Watch out, watch out, watch out, watch out. Watch out for the Illuminati. Watch out, watch out, watch out, watch out. Watch out for the Illuminati. Watch out for the Illuminati.
The Democrats, every last one of them, from the blue-head screaming person with glasses too small for their face and the nose ring, to the nice, smiling, good, wholesome white fella with the white hair and the nice suit. If they're a Democrat, they're a fanatic, they're after you and your family, and they're pushing a radical agenda in some way, shape, or form, at some capacity, to bring about a world with no borders, no God, no guns, and no gold. They're pushing for a sexualized communist society. And that's just wrong. That is just wrong. And whether you endorse Mamdani or Cuomo, this radical agenda is being pushed because both men are radicals, and Andrew Cuomo has no right to call a radical because he's pretty radical himself. Calling for abortions with 1 week left to go in the pregnancy. That's pretty radical to me. To have life in the womb ripped out piece by piece, its skull crushed and thrown in a garbage pail, or they trying really, really hard to granulate these lives from the womb and inject them into Grandpa. And speaking of Grandpa, if he cared so much about Grandpa, why would he have him killed by COVID? Why would he put COVID patients in nursing homes with a whole entire medical ship and a reconverted, retooled Javits Center for COVID available to him? These things you gotta ask yourself. These things you gotta ask Andrew Cuomo himself when you see him. He's got the goal to run for mayor, and he did a lousy job as governor. And he actually brags about how he handled COVID. He's bragging about something he should be in jail for. Much less slightly embarrassed about, at least. But there are actually people endorsing him. Former Governor Patterson, former Mayor Bloomberg, current Governor Huckster Hochul, this councilwoman, Susan Zhang, who came straight from China. So, of course, somebody coming from where COVID came is going to endorse someone who helped the spread of COVID and the death and carnage and rotted flesh because of COVID. Of course, when they're a Democrat from China, they're not escaping China for a better way of life in America. They're coming to America to bring communism to America. And never, never, never forget that, because the Democrats are always on the side of the communists. They want to turn America communist. Look at AOC. Look at Elizabeth Warren. Look at this mayoral candidate, Mamdani. Look at Bernie Sanders. Look at Bill de Blasio. It's like a communism rogues gallery, isn't it? And Andrew Cuomo's not that far behind. Didn't he have Chinese nationalist spies working for him? And when Huckster Hochul took over, those Chinese nationalist spies remained at their respective jobs, working for the new governor. That was Andrew Cuomo's doing. And Huckster Hochul kept the ball rolling, because she loves them Chinese communist spies, and so does Andrew Cuomo. And who's endorsing him besides the other people I've mentioned? Okay, Councilwoman Zhang, but a man who has his office right up the block from me, William Colton. Now you can figure, how can this long-time local nice guy in the suit, seemingly nice guy, local guy, always smiling, always shaking hands with people, how could he do that? It's pretty simple. The radicals have jacked the Democratic Party. The radicals have seized control over the Democratic Party. And if you're not the blue-haired fanatic, you're relegated to being a spokesperson. In essence, a ventriloquist dummy for the radical agenda. And we've seen people like Joe Biden coming off as moderate and then being radical as he's coming in. That Whitney Tilson that I mentioned, who's also running for mayor, he's just that kind of guy that's going to do that. He comes off as moderate and centrist, but he'll be radical if he ever gets elected mayor. William Colton, who's actually been somewhat moderate while holding office, has swung radical because he wants to go along to get along with the radicals that have become the heart and soul of today's Democratic Party. And so he's endorsing another radical that seems like a moderate, Andrew Cuomo, so he doesn't look so fanatical. But let me tell you something. Kathy Hochul, Andrew Cuomo, and Bill Colton may as well dye their hair blue and get tongue rings and nose rings and call themselves non-binary half-wolves. Because regardless of how they present themselves, they're acting like that element. And Colton's never getting my vote again, that's for sure. We're talking about a guy who's been in office since the 90s anyway. We can't have people that have been in office since the 90s anymore. They got to go. Respect God. Watch out for the Illuminati. Follow and share my wonderful content. Stay strong. Keep kicking that slang. It's your boy in the building, hip-hop legend, recording engineer, and underground rock and roll hero, MC Too Tall. Until next time.